Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be in East Liberty here to begin or to continue a process of transformation. I want you to think back just a few years ago where the lack of hope was in East Liberty. There was an old vacant Sears building that had sat vacant for 10 years, an eyesore, a reminder that nobody was investing here. There are these high-rises that were run privately by a private company, and look at what has happened. If somebody has a publicly subsidized housing unit, it should be the best housing. The people of this community, the public agencies like the Urban Redevelopment Authority and the Housing Authority and the HUD have all said that we're going to change the attitude about how we think about how people ought to live. And that's happening today in a very vivid way.
How I feel about the paintballs, I wanted to throw one at the mayor. 2 or 3 of them at him, and all the rest of them.
When they did have the Get Down celebration, as they called it, when I stood up and made a speech on behalf of our organization, the Coalition of Organized Residents of East Liberty, there were only 3 East Mall residents in the audience that I could see. Many of them came later on for the entertainment, some for the food, but not to watch people throw paintballs at our home. That's the one reason I call it a media circus. All the suits that were there. I wondered if anybody was left downtown that day.
They said art. That is not art. That's defamation of the building. If we had a spray can, we go to jail.
Well, my thoughts about that, as far as that being a celebration, in fact, I thought that was more of a disgrace.
Out of curiosity, we should get ready to jump out.
They're shooting paintballs up in the building.
Shooting what?
They're shooting paintballs up in the building.
Why is that?
Sport, fun.
Paintball?
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome.
They said it was an eyesore before, which it wasn't. And the engineers said it was the best made building of the 3. But the mayor and the city just wanted it down. They didn't care that it was the better building.
You know, we decided that, you know, this building is unsafe and you got to go. And the reality is that, you know, the building was the same. And, you know, just all the little tricks. I mean, after we sort of stopped them from foreclosing and shutting down the buildings, then they hired somebody to do a physical inspection. And, you know, we didn't have the money to hire our own inspectors. But, you know, all of that stuff is subjective. So, you know, they ended up saying, oh, the building's unsafe and this and that and that. But that Penn Circle's still standing, you know, and they fell down yet. And, you know, although they knocked those other ones down, I'm sure it wasn't that easy, you know.
You know, I felt that there was too many families that was displaced. You're looking at a community that even though it may had its negative images, there was a lot of good people in that building. And to see a group of individuals who are promoted by the city administration to take paintballs and just throw it at the building as if it's a celebration, I felt it was a slap, a real serious slap, because there's no consideration on the generations of families that was born and raised in that building. And there's no consideration to say that it matters. It makes a difference where they go. In my opinion, that whole thing was an insult. I care about my neighborhood and I care about my community. I'm not born or raised in East Liberty, but I have family there. I know that building well. My girlfriend lost her son in that same building. There's been so much about that whole area that I can just, my heart bleeds, you know. I'm an artist, and I feel that to take paint and just throw it at a building and call that a celebration or even call it art, it's not what I feel is art. There's a lot that I would like to say, but I don't want to step on no one. I don't want to offend no one. I just want everyone to know that that's not the way you displace people. You have sympathy to the families. What about all the moms in these brick prisons that they call a community? We're living in a city that everyone is displaced. We have no more Hill District like it used to be known. We have no more Homewood like it used to be known. And now it's East Liberty. And no one cares about where these family goes. No one cares if they even have a tomorrow. We're looking at these people as if they're just numbers. And we're just sticking them in any place that number fits. Whether it's from 1 to 100 people being displaced. No one seems to care.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In fact, all these groups think we're a chessboard, and we're all chessmen on the board, and they just jump around here and there, move us here, move us there. They don't realize we're people.
I don't know. Sometimes I think people feel powerless. Like all this stuff is going to happen regardless, and you know, all the well-connected people and people with money are going to make these decisions anyway, and you're kind of going on about your life, and then all of a sudden a building's coming down and people are slinging paint, and you're kind of like, what is going on here?
It was a great idea. It was a fun idea, like, oh, let's fling stuff up the building because it's coming down. But it's a prime example of like a good idea that wasn't taken to the people who actually live in the community.
Right, I saw a lot of people from outside the community slinging paint.
Yeah.
But I didn't see a lot of people from inside the
not at all.
community getting behind the paintball and saying, I hate that place. You know, I just want to see it defaced and gone. The people who actually lived in that building
It meant
had a
something
different experience. Yeah, they lived there.
They lived there.
That was their home. That was their home.
You know, it's like even if you don't even live there anymore. Like if I walk by my apartment on Garfield now and saw somebody throwing rocks at the window, I don't live there anymore. But I once did. So that would affect me, you know. Mm-hmm. And the fact that people don't even take that in there.
Right. That kind of shows the disconnect.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of people to function at different levels, and there are a lot of people that had previously lived in those 3 high-rises that just don't have the ability to negotiate the market. And you know, I don't know if it's because they never learned or they never had to, or you know, or they just don't have the capacity to. But the reality is that, you know, they don't have a place to live, or they don't know, you know, where they're going to lay their head at. And, you know, that's sad. That's really sad when, you know, you lived somewhere for 20 years and then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, there were generations of people in those buildings. The mother lived there, now the daughter lived there and her kids, and now, you know, they just don't know where they're going to go. So
I hope that they do make provision for the low-income people to be able to move back and not let the residents, the business take it all.